Greetings to all. A very warm welcome to Ansarkari. I am Vikas Bhardwaj, and today we are taking up a very evergreen, or you can say a perennial topic, which is part of not only general studies, but it can be part of essay topic also, and apart from your general understanding of contemporary but dynamic Indian issues. Trade distorting subsidies and WTO. That means subsidies must be there, but they must not be trade distorting. That means they must not affect the trade in a wrong manner. What is that? Let's understand and try to have a clarity of thought. Second point is MSP a trade distorting subsidy? What I'm trying to convey to you is MSP, which have been an issue and which have been in news for a very long time because of the recently concluded farmer agitation in India, but a very integral part of the agriculture policy, programs, and reform process. So, is it a trade distorting subsidy? That is what we are going to see. Now first see that what in WTO terminology, how subsidies, or to be very precise, agriculture subsidies are distinguished or identified. So they are identified on the basis of the boxes, and the boxes, they are given different colors of traffic lights, like the way we have green light, we have red light. So when we say green, that means it is permitted, like the way traffic is permitted, similarly subsidies and also support is permitted. Another is, like we say, amber box, we will talk about it, but in that it need to be reduced. And if I say, is there any red box? So no red box is there, but then that is forbidden. So in agriculture, things are pretty complicated because agriculture is the base of human civilization, I should say. It is very important to understand that agriculture plays critical part in, especially in the developing and the least developed countries. So in agriculture there is no red box, there is amber box, and there is green, and there is a blue box also. We will talk about it also. That means subsidies are linked with programs. Subsidies are linked with programs that limit production in agriculture. Now you will say that if all these things are there, then what will happen to those जिनके पास कुछ नहीं है, poor countries? So for them there is something called S&D box, or you can say development box, which is an integral part of the agriculture process, or you can say agriculture policies. So all these things are provided in the agreement on agriculture. So is this agreement is agreed upon by all? Is this agreement favors developing countries? Is this agreement favor developed countries? That is the whole question. Why there is an issue? Why not things have been resolved? So we'll just try to understand that. Now, as I was saying, amber box. So you can say all domestic support by developing countries or developed countries, which they give to their agriculture, it distort production and trade. That is what is believed. It distort both production plus trade. Now this distortion, it falls into amber box, which is defined in article 6 of the agreement on agriculture. as all domestic support which is put here, it will not be in the blue and green boxes. So whatever is not in the blue and green boxes must be in the amber box. So it will include measures to support. What you can think of? It will include measures to support prices of the crops, or subsidies. Subsidies related to what? Subsidies related to production quantities. कितना प्रोड्यूस करोगे? And can we say these support in the amber box that we are talking, are they having certain limits? कुछ limit होना चाहिए, because every country is having their own limitations, especially in context of developing countries. So yes, definitely these supports are subject to limits. अब limit कौन तय करेगा? That is the whole question. If the limits are decided by the developed countries, they will have their way, like always, and without being biased. They have been generally anti-developing countries as far as the major challenges and the global challenges are concerned. So you can think on your own that this is the adverse situation for developing countries. Now, there is another concept of de minimis. That means minimal support. Minimal support to the production, that can be product specific and that can be non-product specific. That means a specific crop, or that means in general also. But it must be defined within the total value of agriculture production. Whatever the total value of agriculture production, in that there can be product specific support, there can be non-product support also. So for developed countries, it is 5% of the total, generally total we can say the value of the agriculture production, or whatever is the total produce is there. In case of developing countries, it is 10%. And when we say 10%, is not for all developing countries. Many developing countries, when they joined WTO as members, they agreed to a different level and they negotiated कि भैया हम तो इतने से कम में हमारा गुजारा नहीं होने वाला. Now, one more thing is there. There are many countries which are having less population but they are highly developed and they are having a great agriculture production. उनका क्या होगा? So there are 32 such countries which are having larger subsidies than this de minimis level. And they have promised at the beginning of, or you can say after Uruguay round, that they will commit themselves to reducing their support levels. But they have not done it till now. They have not done it. So my question to you is, do you think that India is part of those 32 WTO member countries which is having larger subsidies than the de minimis level? And if you can think of two countries which are part of it, which must have done this reduction, can you name them? Please write back in the comment box, or otherwise you can get back to me otherwise also. I will think that is one of the ways to understand the concept. Now, when I say another concept, this is the concept of AMS. That means the reduction commitments, whatever is the reduction we demand, the support that we are talking, it comes under the term AMS, that is aggregated measure of support. Aggregated measure of support, or total AMS, which includes all support for specified products with supports or not for specified products, as I just told you, both comes under it. So in agriculture agreement, this is defined in Article 1 and Annexure 3 and 4, just a technical information, but that is not required. So AMS is very important. In prelims examination, they can just give you AMS stand. They will not ask you stand for, but it is in news, in context, and something like that can come up in the exam. Now, blue box. The blue box, as I already discussed with you, that it reflects those subsidies which are not, I should say, if, as I just said before also, that there must be some kind of conditions. So blue box, this is actually a type of amber box. If I say, if you can recall, we have discussed about amber box. So in amber box there were some conditions, means a limitation. So this is an amber box with conditions, and this is designed to reduce distortion. Distortion कम होना चाहिए. That means any support that should be part of amber box but is put in blue box because the support, or you should say because the support that is done to farmers, it requires farmers to limit production. It should have been in amber box, but it is put in blue box because this subsidy must force farmers to limit production as a part of agreement on agriculture. At present, there are no limits on spending on blue box subsidies. There are no limits to the countries. They can spend as much as they want on blue box subsidies. So amber box with conditions is blue box. That is what we want to say. Now, green box. As I told you, green box, they must not distort trade. Green, allowed, permitted. They must cause minimal distortion. They have to be government funded. Green box must be government funded. They must, not charge higher prices to consumers and must not involve price support. Okay, and it is also said that they are not targeted, when they are not targeted particular products, they must include a kind of a direct income support for farmers that are not related to current production level or prices. You are providing income support to farmers, but that is not related with their current production. It is not related with their current production or level or prices. So if that is done, then that will distort the trade. What other things can come under green box? So any kind of environmental protection, any kind of regional programs, any kind of support which is actually for a bigger cause, for uh, preventing global warming, best practices in agriculture, and so on. They all will be coming under green box, and they must comply with the policy specific criteria which is given in the WTO agreement on agriculture. That means it is also not very defined, not very specific, not so simple. It's a very complex issue, but I just try to uh, give you an idea that how green box subsidies must not distort trade. They have to be government funded, and there are other points like you can give income support, direct income support to farmers that are not related to their current production. That is what we are saying. Now, development box, as I told you, this is part of the article 6.2 of the agreement. That means additional flexibilities given to the countries which cannot actually survive on the lines which had given below, we had just discussed. Developmental category, assistance, whether direct or indirect. So they are integral part of the developmental program of developing countries. What they will include? They will include investment subsidies. We have to understand that for developing countries, agriculture is not a recreation. It is the matter of livelihood. It is the matter of development of a country. So investment subsidies are part of development box. Input subsidies, which are given to the low income, or you can say resource poor countries. And we have to see that one of the central objectives of agreement on agriculture, which is to prevent distortion of trade, as we have discussed. and WTO must create such conditions where developing countries must not suffer because of the developed countries distortion practices, because for them agriculture forms a very little part of the total developmental process. So as we discussed that the domestic subsidies which are categorized into green box, blue box and amber box, and green box, as I said, they are the income support to farmers, and blue box like the direct payment, as I just discussed. India, certain states have been doing these uh, initiatives, but not in a very uh, reformist and also in a very big large scale in all over India process. Certain countries provide unlimited subsidies, but the price support provided in the form, if we talk about India, in the form of MSP, is classified as trade distortion subsidy because it is put in amber box. That means India can do it. India is doing it, but it has to be within the limit, which is subject to certain limitations. So how to measure? How to measure that up to what limit India's MSP will be falling under amber box? So there will be the aggregate measurement of support, as I said, aggregate measurement of support. So total product specific and non-product specific, as I just discussed some moments back. For product specific, if we talk about India, then what? For a particular crop, if India is supporting, and non-product specific, what example can we give? For example, fertilizer subsidy. And for countries like India, they are allowed to provide a de minimis level of product and non-product subsidy. Up to certain limit, they can provide both product and non-product domestic subsidy. Now this is capped at, can you tell me, 10% or 5%? Yes, you're right. 5% of the value of the production of the product. And in case of product specific subsidy, as I said, 10% and 10% of the total value of the agriculture production, total India's agriculture production. Now, if subsidies are breaching, India subsidy will be breaching this 10% limit, then it will be the what I should say, a case for trade distortion. That is why they have to be amounted in, or they have to be accounted in for in the AMS, aggregate measure support. Now, when the question comes up that give legal guarantee to the 23 crops at MSP, the current practices of procuring wheat and rice. But when the farmers demand that all 23 crops must be under this, will it be breaching the de minimis limit? I am asking you. And making it vulnerable to the legal challenge? And even if the government is not doing it directly and the role of private parties are there, and private parties, they are asked to acquire at a price determined by the government. Private parties are asked to procure at a rate determined by the government. ऐसा होता है क्या कहीं? होता है. In case of sugarcane, so sugarcane mills and sugarcane mill owners, they are there and a price is announced, and in that context also de minimis limit applies. In the recent case at WTO, in case of India, sugar and sugarcane issue was taken up, and it was concluded that India breached the de minimis limit in the case of sugarcane by offering a guaranteed price paid by the sugar mills to the sugarcane farmers. If this process is applied to all 23 crops, so will it be breaching? This is one of the issue that we are taking up. This is one of the idea that we are trying to discuss. Now, what for India is possible? That this agreement on agriculture has to be amended. It cannot be amended directly. Powerful countries, powerful lobbies are there, and there must be more space and more discussion on the MSP, minimum support price backed food security programs, but no permanent solution is there. That is why something which they discuss is peace clause. It is no less than a war. That is why they have discussed a peace clause, and peace clause is there in agreement on agriculture, or in WTO. Peace clause is there. This peace clause, it forbids bringing legal challenges against price support based procurement. No, you cannot go to court and put say कि India ने ऐसा कर दिया, because it is under peace clause. India wants a permanent solution. Even if it is breaching the limit on domestic support, then also it is coming under peace clause, but it is also having certain conditions. For example, developing countries like India, they can provide support to a minimum level farmer, and I should say to such level where we are talking about the life of the masses, life of the farmers, and the general livelihood conditions. Traditional, that is why I use the word traditional. For example, food subsidy and food security program, India's food security program, public distribution system, ration system, especially in the context of free ration, especially in context of extraordinary situations like this pandemic. And this peace clause is applicable only for those programs, which were there, because it was not there since the beginning. So it is applicable only for those programs that were existing when this decision was made. That peace clause must be there. It is not that today we can start something new and we can say that let's have this new subsidy program, and then it will not be breaching the WTO rules and regulations. That is why countries are under obligation to notify WTO if their subsidies are exceeding the 10% level. In case of countries like India, they must report it to the WTO. In other words, subsidies, if they are breaching the 10% minimis level, they must report. For example, India suppose is having around 13% or something, it must report. But the question arises that, is it the right way to find a solution? Is this way Indian agriculture will prosper? Is this way developing countries will prosper? Is this way the world will have a better prosperity and equitable distribution? That is what I want to ask you. Now, role of India's security program is very, very huge. It's a role model for the whole world, where India has created such a program which is providing basic livelihood needs fulfilling of such a large mass. This is another point of contention, that our agriculture is modern or not, our agriculture is reformist in nature or not, and what kind of reforms are required and how they must be implemented. This is another point. We can be discussing it separately. You can always write in the comment box if you feel like there are certain very important issues from the examination perspective which you want me to discuss about. We will do that. So India's procurement for rice and wheat, it will always enjoy legal immunity, because as I just said that it is part of the basic livelihood program. But India will not be able to employ the peace clause to defend such crops that are not part of food security program. Now cotton or groundnut or soya bean or sunflower or whatever, they are not part, or even pulses are in certain way, they are not part of the food security program in a complete manner. That is why they can be questioned. But even if agriculture agreement is amended and this MSP backed procurement for the food security purposes is also not part of this, then there will be trade distortion otherwise also, because it will be breaching the limit. Now what can India do? Now India can move from price based support to income based support. Income based support, can you recall two states in India which have been moving in that direction, and their policies, or I should say their program, have been very famous also, and even central government have started to move in that direction in certain ways, where income support have been provided to farmers at a basic level. That is what is the way forward. Even it is a very debatable issues, a very contentious issues, but ultimately we have to see what farmers are demanding. Are they understanding the things completely? What should be the way forward? There are schemes like Kalia, in Odisha or Raitu Bandhu, which have been tremendously successful, but climate change or even the modern challenges or even external factors or even the way globalization and global economy is moving or even India's external challenges in terms of strategic challenges in terms from China or even Pakistan, all these factors do have certain implications for it. So Atmanirbhar Bharat is a way forward. Modern India with self-resilience is a way forward. Asking developed countries to behave is a way forward. Asking them to understand the needs and conditions of the developing countries and also to look in themselves that they are actually giving undue subsidies, whether it is New Zealand, whether it is Australia, whether it is US, or whether it is countries like European countries, they they are actually distorting the agriculture and trade and not developing countries. For them it is the bread and butter. For them it is not only the matter of just livelihood of couple of lakhs. Millions and billions of people are involved in it. So we have to find an answer from the administrative perspective. We have to understand the issue. So we have discussed many terms and points which are linked with both agriculture, WTO, from the prelims examination perspective, and also an overview for the mains examination question also, if you try to see from an objective manner, which must be your goal. So thank you very much and good luck for your studies and for understanding success in examination, because I can tell you it is a very strategic and a smart process which requires very unusual and a common sense based thinking. Please get back for any doubts. Please do subscribe to our channel and thank you very much for watching it.